So the battle intensifies between Governor Ron DeSantis and Walt Disney World and or Disney Corporation. All this over the Parental Rights Act, mislabeled Don't Say Gay bill, as it's just been reported here on Fox News that Florida Senate has passed the bill stripping Disney of its special self-governing power. So again, just to recap the story and or what's happening here, Florida Senate just approved today, Wednesday, April the 20th, 2022, a bill that will dissolve special self-governing status given to Disney over 50 years ago, back in 1967, if I'm not mistaken, after the company had publicly feuded with, again, Republicans over a controversial Parental Rights Bill. The Republican-controlled chamber passed the bill by a margin of 23-16 that would dissolve the special status granted to the company that essentially allows Disney to self-govern it on its large property near Orlando. If you're not familiar with what that is, here's a little about the Reedy Creek Improvement Act. All right, so again, back in the 1960s, Walt Disney World proposed building a recreation-oriented development on 25,000 acres of property in Central Florida. The property sat on mostly remote land area and swamplands between Orange and Osceola County. Now, back in 1967, now this was far away from any power lines at the time. Again, it was uninhabited, and the state of Florida had no means of themselves being able to enact this process. So in 1967, the Florida State Legislature, working with Walt Disney World Company, created a special taxing district called the Reedy Creek Improvement District that would allow Disney to act with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. Walt Disney World could then move ahead with its own version of a 38.5 square mile of largely uninhabited pasture and swampland into a global destination resort that welcomes millions of visitors every year, basically allowing them to do what they wanted in terms of construction and or adjustments to the land and or area without having to go through county approvals, going to boards. Now, this would put them largely responsible for providing some of the typical costs, such as paying the cost for providing municipal services like power, water, road construction, and fire protection. Moving along with the article, getting past some of that. So here's, again, some of the responses from Florida legislature. So, and I quote, "What I would say as a matter of first principle is I don't support any special privileges in laws just because the company is powerful and they've been able to wield a lot of power," said Governor Ron DeSantis in a press conference last month as he was engaged in war words with Disney over the bills he signed, which prohibits classroom instruction over sexual orientation and gender identity with children in third grade or younger, or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. So again, this is all over the Parental Rights Bill, which again, as stated here, it literally only refers to pre-K and third graders, anywhere between there, i.e. 4-year-olds through 8, saying you cannot discuss in the classroom as part of classroom discussion and or classroom discussion and or instruction on topics such as sexual orientation, gender identity. Now, this is applying across the board, regardless of whether or not it is related to heterosexual or homosexual relationship and or identity. So you can't, as a teacher, come into the classroom and discuss same-sex coupling and or marriage no more than you can opposite sex and or, again, heterosexual relationship. You cannot discuss the relationship between a husband and a wife no more than you can a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife, boyfriend and a girlfriend, or a girlfriend and a girlfriend. It's across the board. That's off the table for 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and 8-year-olds. That's all. But once you turn 9, then they can start talking about classroom or introducing classroom discussion on sexual orientation, so long as, again, it's age appropriate. That's all. And yet the left and the LGBTQ community, for whatever reason, and many in the left supported media, decided to miscategorize it as a Don't Say Gay bill, despite that there is no reference to gay, the word gay, and or homosexual, if we're being technical, trans, queer, what have you, at all in the bill. It is a blanket statement prohibiting any and all sexual orientation talk. Again, so the same thing applies to heterosexual relationships, yet it was mischaracterized as if it's only applicable to same-sex unions and or trans individuals of the LGBTQ community. And they also miscategorized it, stating as if these topics cannot be discussed at all, when again, there is a clear age limit restriction of 4 to 8, but once you get into the 4th grade, then again, so long as the topic and or conversation is deemed age appropriate based upon state standards, then you're a go. With that said, somehow this small fraction of groups managed to manipulate and strong-arm the Disney Corporation into joining into the fight. Apparently, Disney said something along the lines of, Florida's House Bill 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law, Disney said. Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. We are dedicated to standing up for the rights and safety of the LGBTQ plus members of the Disney family, as well as the LGBTQ community in Florida and across the country, end quote. That's what started this fight. Governor Ron DeSantis and the Republicans of the state really took that personal and decided to strike back at Disney by, if they wanted to enter into this fray, into this political fight, then there are going to be some consequences. Again, the whole term "don't say gay" is a massive misunderstanding of the bill, HB 1557, and what it says. Like I said, it has no mention of the word gay or homosexual. It is, however, a bill, again, banning all topics of sexual orientation, same sex or opposite sex as a whole. So I'm not too sure where that's coming from and why they were misled. Hasn't been a response yet. Now, if I'm understanding this right, The Hill also reported on this story, and now the dissolving will not be as easy as just that. Aside from the fact that it hasn't yet gone through the House of Legislature in the state of Florida, it just passed the Senate, it has to now pass the House. Even if that happens, which it might not, we'll see, but according to The Hill, they say dissolving the RCID might not be as easy according to the state statute. Once the state and House passed the bill with the governor's signature, a majority of the district's homeowners would have to vote in favor of dissolving the district. And since most of the people who live in the RCID, so again, in the Reedy Creek Improvement District, since the majority of them are employed by Disney, that scenario would seem unlikely. So it doesn't look like it would be an easy task or possibly even all that likely or possible, because again, it would mean that they would need to get the vote of the people in that district to agree on that. And if they're largely all Disney employees, whether they agree with the bill or not, or Disney stance or not, I doubt they will vote in such a way that would harm their own economic situations, because it's going to come down to the money, even though I believe a good number of Disney employees are, if anything, split on this whole thing. I believe a lot of them do see through the lies of manipulation and know that it is not a don't say gay bill. But at the same time, they don't want to jeopardize their money and their income, and this could negatively impact the company to some degree. Now, I think if anything, it would be a shot in the foot of Florida more so, because right now Disney World is picking up the tab on all of the costs of maintaining that property, that land, the cost of maintaining and fixing, repairing the roads. And this is one of those examples where I love to admit it, that private corporations, private businesses, private citizens are more efficient than government. Look how well, and if you've ever been to Disney World, it really is like no place on earth practically. Very magical, takes you away from it all, extremely well upkept. I would hate to see what it would be like if you had to put it in the hands of local government running things, how much more inefficient it would be, despite how great of a government Florida has been thus far over the past several decades, how successful they've been. I still don't see them being able to respond as quickly, as efficiently, and proficiently as Walt Disney World Corporation has been. They're able to jump on projects really quickly and do what they need to do, spare no expense if necessary. The other backlash on this is that it would not only probably likely hurt the magical scenery of Disney if they have to rely on a local government to make certain repairs and updates to roads and things of that nature. But you're now also potentially putting the tax burden on any and all upkeep of this Disney property on the residents of those counties, on the state of Florida. So just some things for them to think about, even though it may likely hurt Walt Disney World in the terms of some of their profit. They may now have to start paying more in taxes, but it depends on how much they're paying to upkeep and maintain that land to begin with. It may not be a wash, but Florida could be shooting themselves in the foot if now they have to take on the cost of upkeeping that land or the property. And it could also hurt Disney if they're not able to do so as efficiently as what Disney World has been able to do, if that results in fewer visitors and tourism could hurt the state of Florida. So we'll see. Now, I don't see Disney World being able to relocate. I understand that the governor of Colorado has made an offer out to Disney in light of this, saying, hey, if you're not welcome in Florida, you can come here and we can work out a similar deal. I don't see Colorado being a favorable destination due to just their location and overall weather. Tourism would definitely be hurt during the winter months. It would practically be unattractable, whereas at least in Florida during the winter, I've gone for the week of Christmas. It's still beautiful. You're talking about temperatures between the mid 60s to mid 70s, easy, not incredibly hot or toasty. You're not going to be wanting to live in the pool necessarily, but you don't have to avoid the pool either, or pool areas, water activities. It's still beautiful. You can walk around at worst with a jacket on. You're not shivering, no chance really of snow. Very beautiful year round. I don't see any other state being able to offer that. They already have Disneyland in California. So, all right, so this is definitely an interesting battle. I really don't have that many sides. I'm not a big fan of the government now trying to retaliate against a company, but then at the same time, I don't like the idea of a company being so big and powerful that they feel as though they can actually change and overrule, like they said, duly elected officials and laws that were signed by these duly elected officials based upon the wills of the people. And this law, the Parental Rights Act, also known as HB 1557, is an extremely popular law once you really understand what's going on in these schools and what the law is about, not specifically targeting any particular community, but rather just across the board saying, leave our little kids alone. Let the parents handle any and all of that talk if they deem it appropriate for 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8-year-olds. But then once they become 9, then okay, we can start having age-appropriate discussions about sexual orientation, but still avoid the indoctrination being involved. Very popular bill. I don't like the idea of corporations and these oligarchs thinking that they can control things and or try to manipulate the public, manipulate state laws, manipulate elected officials, politicians, even though we know that they are in a lot of these special interest and or lobbying groups. But again, I digress. This is something that the people of Florida want. I don't like the idea of a company like Walt Disney trying to get in the way of that, and or this goes to show you go woke or you go broke. But again, I don't really too much like governments retaliating to this degree. But then again, this may be what makes Ron DeSantis so popular and effective of a governor, is his willingness to take on whomever. And I mean, again, yeah, he does have a point. No one should have any special laws and or protections or special standings above others. No other company can get away with what Walt Disney World is, but we'll see where this goes. It's going to be an interesting story. We'll see what the Florida House of Representatives does with this. Do they take it to the next level, or do they get killed in its tracks? And then again, if the Hill is right, even if the House passes it, it might be dead on arrival, but we'll see. Again, as far as I'm concerned right now, the Walt Disney Corporation has been silent on this particular development. We'll see if they regret their actions in their positions or do a reverse course, especially in light of the new and their actual evidence as it pertains to what the bill is all about. Again, so this is going to be an interesting development, but I do think that it does seem like Disney has definitely committed to the LGBTQ plus community agenda with some of their recent statements regarding trying to ensure that at least 50% of all of their upcoming characters in Disney projects will be of the LGBTQ plus community. That's a commitment, a goal, as opposed to just a happenstance of who a character may just so happen to be. But we'll see how this plays out. Again, let me know if you like this video, comment on this video, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and smash on that subscription button. This is Bruce the Boss, and I am out.